All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for the big reveal. It's time for the answer key. All of you have been going and trying to calculate both the mass and volume of liquids A, B, C, D, E, and F. And now it's time to go and arrange these items from most dense to least dense in a very large graduated cylinder. To do this, I may have to actually go and pause the video periodically while waiting for things to settle, but I'm going to start off by showing you what the first liquid is. I hope all of you are able to calculate this. The most dense liquid, E. I'm going to start pouring this in here. I'm going to pour it straight down. At which point I can do this because this is the first liquid. A lot of the other liquids I'm going to have to pour in at an angle so that they don't mix, even though you may think that they would go and remain separated by their density. Unfortunately, you can go and use a force like gravity and let things fall through other liquids, which would go and kind of mess things up. So I'm going to give this a couple of moments here. I'm going to pause the video while I continue to add the last bit of liquid E. Still adding liquid E. And that is a decent portion of it, so that I think we can go and tell what is this liquid. We can see it's holding steady at that point. It's going to go and cease to pour liquid E. All right, so liquid E is back in the rack. Now, does anyone know what the next liquid is? Again, we've got liquids A, B, C, D, and F to go. The next liquid, the second most dense liquid, liquid B. Now this one, unfortunately, I do have to pour from the side, which means it's got to be done, and I got to try and do it as gently as possible. Hoping to see that it's going to sit on top of the liquid that we first poured in. So we go liquid E, then B. I think I need a little bit more of liquid B. All right. Added just a little bit more of liquid B to our graduated cylinder. As we can see, that liquid is sitting right on top of the other liquid, liquid E at the very bottom there. And so both those liquids are sitting because of their densities. They are not mixing. They're staying in those locations because their densities are different. All right, next liquid. So we go liquid E, then B. The next most dense liquid, ironically, so E, then B, the next one is D. This one again needs to be poured from the side, at least to start. And now you can notice I can actually pour it straight on top as its own layer. So far it goes layer E, then B, then D. Make sure we keep this nice and clean. I think I need a little bit more of that blue so that it really stands out. There you go. Let's add a little more blue so it sits on top nice and pretty. And that's about as thick as the other layers. All right. So that was liquid D. Next up, liquid A. And this one I do need to pour in on an angle so that it flows very slowly into the blue layer and not underneath it or mixes with it. So I'll start with a little bit here. Yeah, there we go. And now I keep adding more of the green here, liquid A as it were. All right. Oh, give it a chance to resettle. That's awesome. Liquid A. Well done, Liquid A. Good job. Good job. Which leaves us with two more layers to figure out here. And so we have E, then B, then D, and now we have A. Does anybody know what the next one is? If you've gotten this far, if you've gotten to the video, you've already figured it out. It's liquid F. Again, I need to pour this very, very slowly down the sides so that it does not mix with the last liquid layer that we poured in. Just a gentle whoop. Oh, nice and slow. So this is liquid F. We should be able to get liquid F to sit on top. Woohoo! Liquid F sitting on top. Though it looks like I need a little more of liquid F for it to work here. See if I can't pour it in very, very slowly. All right. Liquid F sitting on top. which does leave us with the last and final liquid to go and fit into our density stacker here, and that's going to be the red liquid C. And this one too also need be poured on an angle, very, very slowly into the graduated cylinder. A couple of drips to start. Don't be leaking out over here. All right, all right. Here we are. We are done. All right, indeed, indeed. So we have all 6 layers sitting in a graduated cylinder, all separated by their densities. We got a couple of air bubbles that are moving up from the very bottom, making their way through and slowly finding their way to the very, very top. Obviously, air being less dense than all this will find its way to the surface. But let's make sure that everyone understands what the items, what they actually were. Okay? I know a lot of you have been trying to guess and figure based upon what I've done with them. All right, so here we go. The brown, that was a buckwheat honey, but a honey nonetheless. So E was honey, so that's most dense. Followed by, slide this over a little bit here. Next up, we had B as the next dense item. Now, B was clear, and you can buy that in the grocery store. That is corn syrup. So B was corn syrup. All right. Now, next up was D, the blue stuff. That is D for Dawn, Dawn dish detergent. So that was Dawn dish detergent. Next up was liquid A, this green stuff here. Very, very, very dangerous fluid. It's called water. Water with green food coloring, dihydrogen monoxide. So you got water next. Now, all of you should know what floats on water. That was this yellow liquid here in F. That was vegetable oil. And last but not least, we had one more fluid here, this red stuff. This was rubbing alcohol. And so rubbing alcohol, being the least dense, should have sat on top of all of it. So there we go. We've got the alcohol, veggie oil, water, Dawn dish detergent, corn syrup, and honey to make your density stacker and figure out whether or not you calculated the densities correctly. All right, guys. Awesome job. Well done. Awesome. And because I know a few of you were curious about the actual densities and the numbers, here they are by liquids. E 1.367, B 1.331, D 0.9938, A 0.9875, F 0.907, and C 0.8768, and all that calculated from our measurements today. Thanks a lot, you guys.